Mike Wozniak, and what I've asked Mike to do, since he's had such success with the competition version of the Meat Monster, is to go over with us a little bit about the unit and how he uses it. So, if you just kind of go through what you do, and that'd be helpful.
Okay, be happy to. Apologize, the cooker's a little bit dirty. I've been cooking in competition with the last 6 weeks in a row, so it's not as clean as it normally would be. I'm going to start here at the back. This is the key to the whole cooker, as far as I'm concerned. This is a competition model. This is a totally insulated firebox. It's got 2 inches of insulation. It's a fairly big firebox, but once you look at it, maybe you could come in here with the camera a little bit, you'll see that actually the fire basket itself is only 8 inches by 30 inches. So it's fairly a small area. The rest of this is like a hot little oven. You can see there's room for 2 aluminum pans to catch any drippings or anything. We cook steaks in here. We crisp our chicken up. In fact, we've cooked pizzas in here and crisp up real nice, especially if you use a stone. The back door is insulated. You can do your ash clean out through here. The way this firebox is designed, it's very easy to load fuel up. Again, it's all insulated. The door's easy to open. And then we go into the cook chamber here. Again, this is insulated. It's got 1 inch of insulation throughout it. Here we have 2 cooking levels. We have an upper level and a lower level. What I like about this cooker is the versatility. I can cook something in the firebox at approximately 500 to 550 degrees. I can cook right here on the upper grate using the heat right out of the firebox. I can cook at about 300 degrees. And if I use my lower level, I can cook my pork down at about 210, and that's where I like to cook my pork. I've got double thermometers on there, so each end will have a little bit different temperature. And a lot's been said about people how even a cooker cooks. In competition, you really don't want an even temperature. You want hot spots and cold spots, so you move stuff around according to how quickly it's getting done, because in competition, everything is on a time schedule, and so you need to either hurry it up or slow it down to make sure it's done at the appropriate time. You'll notice I've got 3 chimneys here. And once again, if you can look at these, they're all at 3 different levels. A lower chimney, a medium chimney, and a tall chimney. I usually start the cooker out. I have these 2 chimneys closed, and I open the lower one. That'll force heat to come down to a lower level to come out. Once everything gets up to temperature and I just want to hold it, I'll set my brisket and pork down at the very bottom rack, and I'll either open up this chimney or that chimney. That'll create a cold spot down here of about 165, 170, which is a perfect temperature to hold your meat at before you turn it in. And I like to rest it a little bit, like an hour or so, before I take it in and actually slice it for the judges. Got a little storage box here, keep my barbecue guru and some of my utensils in. There's actually a lot of storage right inside the cooker itself. When we travel to and from a contest, I keep my charcoal in there. I keep my ash shovel, keep some ash buckets and things like that for charcoal. It's very versatile. I utilize everything, and it's not a very big cooker. It moves around real easy. Got a dolly here. We can move it around once we get to a contest and put it right where we want. And that's kind of a quick overview. Bill, do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
I do have some questions. You have a thermometer down here.
Right.
Okay. There's a lot of talk about smokers cooking evenly from front to back, top to bottom, and a lot of people use that as a guideline when they go to choose a smoker. You don't particularly want everything to be even. Could you explain why?
Absolutely not. Now, if I was cooking for, I was a vendor or cooking for a restaurant, you might, if you're cooking 40 butts, you might want all of them to cook at the same temperature. In fact, there's a spot here that you can put a convection fan on, which would even the temperature up all the way across. But like for competition, like I say, I like to cook my briskets at 300 degrees, and I like to cook my pork at 210. And it just so happens, if I have the chimneys adjusted just right, I can get this thermometer down here to read about 210, and that one to run right about 300, which is just perfect. That's the way I want to cook my pork and the way I want to cook my brisket. In fact, sometimes I start my brisket out in the firebox. It kind of seizes the meat up and drives all the moisture into the center. I do that for just a short while, and then I move it over here and cook it at 300. Also, the reason I do that is because I cook Packer briskets, which one end is really thick and the other end is really thin. So I try to even out the temperature on them by cooking the fat end towards the heat the whole time, and that way the whole brisket gets done about the same time.
Another comment, it's been said that the insulation of the cooking chamber, in addition to the cooking, the insulation of the firebox is overkill. What do you think about the advantages, if so, of having the main cooking chamber insulated?
I don't know of any other offsets that are totally insulated. There's a couple builders that will build you an insulated firebox. Personally, I've cooked, I cooked the Chicago winter burn in February of 2008, and the wind chill when we got there was 30 below zero. And it never got physically above 0 degrees all day. And we were using our Puree custom cooker, our insulated cooker. Now, it did take a while to get up to temperature because you're starting out with steel that's down at 0 rather than like ambient temperature of 70 or 80. So it took a while to get it up to temperature, and I started it as soon as I could. And once I got it up to my cooking temperature, like 250 and 300, it stayed there once I got it there. And I don't think you could do that with the wind blowing and the cold temperature. You couldn't do that with an uninsulated cooker. Plus, I use so much less fuel. I can take this cooker, and I can, if there's no sunlight on it, I can set a drink on here. I mean, it's whatever the ambient temperature is. This top doesn't even get hot. So you're not losing heat anywhere. You know, an uninsulated cooker might be 35% efficient. This is probably somewhere up around 80 or 85% efficient. You're just not losing heat anywhere except what comes out the smokestacks.
You know, you've talked before about efficiency and flavor. I mean, there is a certain advantage as you use less charcoal, but that's not a real big deal. The big deal is you don't have as much residue on the meat. You have better control of the flavor. Is that right?
Right. Smoke has a lot of particulate matter in it. And if you look at someone's cooker who doesn't cook at high enough temperature, or they burn wood that's green, you'll lift the lid and you'll see shiny creosote on it. Well, that same buildup gets on their meat and can contaminate it and give it a bitter flavor. All the top cooks that I know of, when you're watching them, if you go look at their cooker, no matter if it's a pellet cooker or they're burning wood or if they're burning charcoal, you look at after they get everything up to temperature and they're cooking, you won't see just hardly any whiffs of smoke come out. I mean, there's no smoke pouring out. You'll just see heat coming out. And then when I'm cooking, that's all you'll see. You'll just see heat, the little heat waves, I guess you would call them, coming out. But very little smoke. Now, when I throw some new charcoal on, you'll see a little bit of smoke for a few minutes, but that's about it. And you want your meat to be, especially pork and brisket, they're in there for hours, and you don't want a lot of particulate matter from green wood and smoldering charcoal. You don't want that on your meat. That the judges can taste that. You want your meat to taste clean.
Now, you cook during the season most weekends, so you spend a lot of time down at cooker, but you also spend some time cleaning. Could you explain to us how you clean the Meat Monster and how it relates to other cookers you've used in the past?
It's actually a lot easier to clean because it's got a flat bottom here in the cook chamber. On my other cookers that were round, they're a lot harder to clean because all the grease will run down the middle and you have to have a curved tool to get it out. Plus the tube was a lot longer. It was just harder to get it out. Here with the flat chamber, I've got a grease drain right here. I have a bucket that I put under there. And I have a long-handled tool. It's, I think, used for concrete or something. And I take my racks out. I can just start scraping everything. Right after I'm done cooking, while everything's still hot and the grease that came off the brisket and off the pork is still liquid, I can scrape everything right towards the drain. And if I want to, I can take just some wadded-up aluminum foil and I can clean my racks. And I think I've only taken this to the car wash a couple times this year, and I've cooked with it quite a bit. You know, over... I'm thinking somewhere around 15 times or something. It's only been to the car wash a couple times, and I mean, I don't need to clean it very often, and that's cooking all the time. Also in the firebox, I've got 2 aluminum pans in there to catch grease when I want to cook it in there, which makes it really nice because you just throw them away when you're done. Put 2 new ones in.
So in this firebox, you'll cook your chicken.
I'll crisp my skin. I get it right here. It's very hot. The charcoal's right here, and I'll have that fairly close to the top here. You can slide this. If you want to, you can move your charcoal around. You can slide this right over if you're cooking steaks. But yeah, you can crisp your skin up in there. I actually start my brisket on there. If we're cooking steaks the night before to eat, we cook them in there. If we're cooking sausage or anything, we cook them in there. I'm cook pizza in there if I want. We do a lot of cooking in there. Once you've got this and you realize that you've got a 500-degree oven, it's really nice. I mean, the advantage of that is like steaks really need to be cooked at a high temperature. But it really does a good job crisping skin up. And a lot of competitions today, it becomes a skin cooking competition, how crispy you can get it.
Okay, speaking of the firebox, you know, you're going to have some long nights doing this. So my question to you would be, we try to extend your cooking time so you don't have to come back and maintain your fire. How much time can you get with fire, and how do you do it here?
Okay, I try to get in the middle, and I try to sleep from 1 till 6 in the morning, which is about 5 hours. What I do, I'll take a tool and I'll shove all my lit charcoal to one end, and then I'll dump a bunch of unlit charcoal in the other way, which is about 2/3 of the way. And over that 5 hours, it'll burn to the other end, but I still have a couple hours of burn time left. So I would imagine if you filled it up with charcoal, you could probably get somewhere from 6 to 8 hours, depending on what temperature you're running at and everything. I do in the middle of the night, I do throttle it down a little bit, so it doesn't run away. But I've never had a bit of trouble. I use a Guru, and if I set my Guru at 300, or if I set it at 250, that's what it's at in the morning when I get there, when I wake up. I used to get up every hour and a half and check it, but I don't have to worry about this. The only thing would be a problem is if the electricity went off, and we haven't had that problem as of yet.
Now, another question I have, directing these questions towards things that are a little different about the Meat Monster. This is not the typical round design. The round design, this stuff started down the Southwest where a lot of round tubes are around. So, how do you find the full opening? Advantageous or disadvantageous?
When you first suggested I try this cooker, I was a little hesitant because I like the idea of having a couple doors, and I thought, well, I'll let less heat out if I have littler doors. But then I got to think about this, and we have a stop. There's a stop. I think you can actually lift this all the way up if you were cooking a hog on it or something like that, so you can get it out easily. But I have a stop so it doesn't go any higher than this. Well, if you think about that, there's a lot of heat trapped up in here. Now, on a round design, the door is usually hinged right in the center. So when you lift it, the heat you're allowing heat out right from the very top. So you're actually trapping heat, and when I shut this, it comes back up to temperature with a relatively short time, a matter of minutes, depending on how windy and what the ambient temperature is. But it really works well. I was really surprised. The other thing, the square design with the bent steel rather than a round tube, you can have a second shelf that is almost the full size of the top shelf. On a round design, you're right at the center is where your widest shelf is going to be, and as you go up, your shelves get narrower and narrower. Well, this, I could have full-size shelves. This one has only I only have a 4-foot cooktop on this one. The standard size is 5 foot. But I have more space on this one, cook space, than I did on my round cooker. And it was a bigger cooker. It was a 5-foot cook chamber, and this is 30 by 4, and there's more than enough room here for competition meat. I cook 2 briskets, I cook 3 to 4 pork butts, I cook 4 racks of ribs, and I cook 10 pieces of chicken plus some white meat. And I have more room. In fact, I don't use all the racks. I have 5 racks on top, and I have 4 racks on the bottom. I use 2 on the bottom and 3 on top, so I don't use all my racks unless I'm cooking extra meat.
Okay. And your brisket you usually cook right up here?
Yeah. In fact, I got this deflection plate that you can have them build. It's a bit dirty, but this deflection plate. And I use that right about here, and so the direct heat will come out on the rack. And again, for a Packer brisket, one end is probably 3 times fatter than the other end, and so I'm almost getting some direct heat right here on that end, and the skinny end I'm protecting by this deflection plate. And so I end up getting my briskets done about the same time, and I'm not drying out the skinny end of it.
Actually, I think you keep it pretty clean.
That's because I took it to a car wash.
Is that usually how you do it? Just blow it out the car wash?
Once in a while, I've only done it a couple times this year. Most of the time, I just scrape all the grease out and take some tin foil and just clean that. You just wad tin foil. And you can get stainless steel racks, obviously, if you want. These are stainless steel racks. I think they cost a little more than a standard rack, but they're so much easier to clean. You can take a wadded up tin foil and just go back and forth, and it knocks everything off, and then I scrape it down to my drain hole.
Yeah, they never rust.
No, they don't rust, and they clean up so much easier than anything else.
Now this also is something that's a little different, this rope seal that we have.
Right.
How's that been for you?
It's excellent. It's probably the best seal I've seen. A lot of cookers you'll see smoke rolling out of all the cracks and crevices, and here you've got like a piece of channel with rope in it, and it mates down to a single piece of metal surface here, and it's a perfect seal basically. There again, the less leakage you have, the more efficient the cooker will be, and the less heat you lose everywhere. Really, this is an airtight cooker. I use a small fan on my Guru, a 10 CFM fan, which is more than enough. I can run it up to 400 degrees with just a small 10 CFM fan. If you have a cooker that's not insulated or not sealed well, you have to use a much bigger fan.
Okay, well, Mike, thanks for coming over.
It's
all right. Thanks for giving us this little tour. We'll put this information out for people. Thank you. Okay. Thanks, Tricia.